Welcome to the Sleeping Archive, where history comes alive through the voices of those who lived it.
The rain taps against my shutters like impatient fingers, each drop echoing the hunger that gnaws at my belly. It's October 5th, 1789, and I've been awake since before dawn, standing in my cold bakery, staring at sacks that should be full of flour, but hold only memories of better times. My name is Madeleine Rousseau. I've been a baker's wife, then a baker's widow, and now simply a baker, trying to make bread from nothing. Morning light filters through the grimy windows of my shop on Rue Saint-Antoine, casting long shadows across the empty shelves where loaves of bread should be cooling. Instead, there are only a few hard rolls, dark and dense, made from what little grain I could afford. The price of wheat has tripled since summer, and still the merchants demand more coins than most Parisians see in a month. I hear Madame Leroux shouting at her husband again. "Pierre, the children haven't eaten proper bread in 3 days. What am I supposed to tell them when they cry for supper?" Her voice carries through the thin walls. I trace my fingers along the worn wooden counter where Claude used to knead the dough each morning. He died 2 winters ago, leaving me with debts to the grain merchants and a shop that barely feeds me, let alone anyone else. But I remember his words. "Madeleine, bread is life itself. Without it, a nation starves. Unstarving people do not stay quiet long." Through the glass, I watch the market women gathering. Their faces are hard, weathered by years of rising prices and empty promises. Marie-Claire, who sells what vegetables she can find, calls out, "Madeleine, have you any bread today?" I shake my head. She spits into the mud. "The queen eats cake while we gnaw on leather." Her words carry. Jeanne, the fish seller, adds, "The assembly meets, but what do they do for us? They talk and talk while we waste away." Other women nod, heads wrapped in threadbare shawls, hands red and raw from cold and labor. The tension spreads like fire, from doorway to doorway, from market stall to home. I've seen this before, but today feels different. There's something electric in the air, something that makes my skin prickle. I close my shop early. There's nothing left to sell. The rain has turned the cobblestones slick and treacherous, but I step outside to join my neighbors. We are the backbone of Paris, we women who feed our families, who carry baskets and babies, who knead and sew and scrub and sell. When we hurt, Paris hurts. When we starve, the kingdom feels it. Old Margot taps her walking stick against the stones. In my day, a woman could buy a loaf for 2 sous. Now they want 8, for bread that crumbles to dust. The younger women gather round her like disciples, listening to her wisdom as if she were a prophet. The wind picks up, carrying the scent of wet earth. And something else, the smell of change, or maybe just the bitter smoke of burning charcoal, where people burn whatever they can find to stay warm. I pull my shawl tighter and feel the weight of my empty purse. Marie-Claire raises her voice. "The king must hear us. He sits in his golden palace while we beg for crumbs. But kings need subjects, and subjects need bread." A low rumble of agreement rolls through the crowd. The very stones beneath our feet seem to tremble. I think of Claude. Would he tell me to keep my head down and hope for better days? Or would he understand that sometimes when hunger becomes unbearable, even the gentlest soul must roar, "The rain keeps falling. Tomorrow will bring either bread or revolution, perhaps both." The bells of St. Paul are striking 8 when I hear the commotion outside. Through my window I see women streaming down Rue Saint-Antoine, their voices raised in a chorus of rage and desperation. I fasten my cloak and step into the crowd, feeling immediately swept up in the current of bodies moving toward the Place de Grève. "Bread, bread, bread." The chant echoes off the narrow buildings, growing stronger with each voice that joins. I find myself beside Paulette, a washerwoman whose hands are always red from lye soap. Her 3 children cling to her skirts, their faces gaunt and pale. "Madeleine," she says, her breath forming small clouds. "I heard them talking at the fountain. The bakers say there's no flour coming from the countryside. The harvest was poor, and what grain there is gets sent to the rich quarters. Her voice carries the weight of mothers everywhere, who watch their children grow thin. The crowd grows as we approach the Hôtel de Ville. I see women from every quarter of Paris. The fish sellers from Les Halles with sharp knives in their aprons, the seamstresses from Faubourg Saint-Germain with careful stitches and careful words, the laundresses who know every secret whispered over washing tubs. We are the invisible hands that keep Paris alive when today we are making ourselves seen. A young woman with wild hair and fever-bright eyes climbs onto an overturned cart. "Sisters!" she cries. The crowd quiets. I am Olympe, and I've come from the Faubourg Saint-Marcel, where children are dying of hunger. The assembly debates the rights of man, while we beg for the right to eat. The crowd roars. A heat stirs in my chest, not from the crush of bodies, but from something deeper, something rising. Olympe's voice rises over the square. They say let them eat cake, but we say let them eat revolution, to Versailles, to the palace. Let the king see the faces of his starving people. To Versailles, the cry explodes around me. I find my own voice joining the chorus. The very name of that golden palace, Onu, where the royals feast while we scrape for crumbs, fills me with a rage I've never felt before. I think of my empty shop, of the children growing thinner each day, of the promises that never come. The crowd begins to move, flowing like a river toward the western edge of the city. I'm carried along by the momentum, my feet finding rhythm with thousands of others. The rain has turned to mist, but no one seems to notice. We are beyond cold hands, beyond wet clothes. We are becoming something else. As we walk, I hear fragments of conversation pieced together like a patchwork of pain. The Queen's Austrian friends ship grain back to Vienna. The nobles pay no taxes but eat like kings. My husband works 14 hours and we still cannot afford bread. Nearby, market women march with linked arms, singing an old song about King Henri and the chicken in every pot. But they've changed the words. Good King Louis, hear our plea, give us bread or we'll be free. Their voices are strong despite empty bellies. I hum along, feeling the ache in my legs, the strain in my shoes, the wear in my bones, but still I walk. We all walk. We are like a wave, and Versailles is our shore. Villages outside Paris blur past. People come to their doors to watch us. Some join. Others stare, wide-eyed, perhaps wondering if they are witnessing the birth of something new. I wonder the same. The thought of facing the king fills me with equal parts terror and exhilaration. What do I, a baker's widow, have to say to the most powerful man in France? Then I remember the hollow-cheeked children, the mothers watering soup to make it stretch, the old men who have stopped hoping. I carry their hunger. I carry their voices. The sun begins to set, painting the sky the color of revolution. We are no longer just women walking to Versailles. We are France itself, marching toward its destiny. The road to Versailles stretches before us like a ribbon of mud and determination. We are thousands now. I can barely see the beginning or end of our procession. The women have organized into groups. The fish sellers and market women lead, their voices the loudest, their anger the sharpest. Behind them march the seamstresses and washerwomen, then the wives of artisans and shopkeepers like myself. I find myself beside Catherine, a woman I know from the bread lines at the monastery. She carries a baby wrapped in a shawl that's more holes than fabric. This little one hasn't known a world without hunger, she whispers. I want her to see what it means to fight for something better. The rhythmic sound of our footsteps becomes hypnotic, step, 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 like a heartbeat, like a drum calling us to battle. The women begin to sing. Their voices rise and fall with the march. Allons enfants de la patrie, le jour de gloire est arrivé. But they change the words, turning it into a song of hungry mothers and desperate wives. The melody carries us forward, strength for tired legs, courage for fearful hearts. In Sèvres, an old priest raises his hand in blessing. Several women cross themselves. In Chaville, village women join us. bringing our number to nearly 7,000. Each new voice adds to our power. Each new pair of feet makes the ground tremble a little more. The afternoon light grows long and golden, casting our shadows far ahead on the road. I wonder what we must look like. A great river of women, flowing toward a palace carrying the grief and hope of France? "Tell me, Madeleine," comes a voice beside me. It's Nicole from the tobacco shop near my bakery. "Do you really think the king will listen to us? Do you think he understands what it means to go to bed hungry?" I consider her question. In the distance I glimpse Versailles, gold glinting on the horizon. "I don't know if he understands," I say, "but he will. Before this day is over. When 7,000 women stand before his palace demanding bread, even a king must listen." Around us the talk grows more animated. Some speak of what they'll say to the queen. Others wonder if we should demand the royals return to Paris, so they can see what hunger looks like. There is talk of the National Assembly, and of rights promised but not yet delivered. "My grandfather fought in the wars," says an elderly woman, her cane clicking with each step. "He told me, battles aren't won by the strongest, but by those who have the most to lose." She pauses. "And what do we have to lose now? Our children already starve. Our husbands already break their backs for nothing. We have nothing left to lose but our fear." As Versailles nears, the mood shifts. The singing quiets to a murmur, then silence. We are about to confront the King of France. The air thickens. The weight of the moment settles on our shoulders. The palace gates come into view, and gasps ripple through the crowd. Even I, who expected grandeur, feel stunned. The golden fence stretches endlessly. Beyond it the palace rises, marble and glass, like something from a dream. This is where they live, the ones who decide whether we eat or starve. "Look at that," whispers Marie-Claire. "All that gold. One room of that palace could feed my family for a year." Faces harden. The guards at the gate look nervous. One rides forward, his horse jittery. "What is your business here?" he calls, voice trembling beneath the uniform. Olympe steps forward. "We are the women of Paris," she declares. "We have come to speak with the king. About bread, about hunger, about promises made and broken." The guard turns and gallops back toward the palace. We stand before the golden gates, not as beggars, but as citizens, as mothers, as the living voice of France. And we will not be turned away. The great courtyard of Versailles spreads before us like a sea of marble and gold. We've been allowed through the outer gates after hours of negotiation. Now we stand in the very heart of royal power. The palace looms above us, its countless windows glowing like eyes in the gathering darkness. I have never felt so small and so powerful at the same time. The rain starts again, a cold October drizzle that soaks through our shawls and cloaks. But we do not move. We stand our ground. 7,000 women united in our determination to be heard. Our breathing, our shifting feet, our whispered words form a low murmur that seems to make even the stones of Versailles tremble. Guards line the palace steps, pristine uniforms, gleaming weapons. They watch us with nervous eyes, perhaps wondering if Swiss training prepares you for a sea of hungry mothers. One officer, gold braid on his shoulders, approaches. "His Majesty has agreed to receive a delegation," he says. 10 women may enter to present your concerns." He speaks as if we've come to complain about a broken cartwheel, not the starvation of our children. We argue. Everyone wants their voice heard. In the end, we choose women from every corner of Paris. Olympe for the young mothers, Catherine for those with nursing babies, Marie-Claire for the market women, and me for the shopkeepers and artisans' wives. I too will speak. As we step into the palace, I catch my reflection in one of the golden mirrors. My hair has come loose from its pins. My dress is muddy and torn, my face streaked with rain, and tears I didn't know I'd shed. I look like what I am, a woman pushed past her limits, a citizen demanding justice from her king. The inside of Versailles takes my breath away. Every wall shines with gold and crystal. Paintings of royal ancestors watch us with cool, unbothered eyes. The floors gleam, polished marble that reflects the light of 1,000 candles. A courtier in silk stockings guides us through endless corridors. His Majesty will receive you in the small audience chamber, he says. The small audience chamber is larger than my entire bakery. The ceiling is painted like heaven itself. King Louis XVI enters the room. I expected a giant, a god. Instead, I see a man in his 30s looking uncomfortable in his finery. Kind eyes, perhaps, but the eyes of someone who's never known hunger. Olympe begins. Your Majesty, we come before you as mothers of France, as the women who keep your kingdom alive with our work and sacrifice. We come because our children are starving while your courtiers feast. He nods. He listens. We speak of breadlines, of prices, of thin children and thinner hope. I tell him of my bakery, of trying to make bread from nothing. I describe the woman who offered her wedding ring for a single loaf. We do not come as enemies, I tell him. We come as your people, as subjects who want only to feed our families and serve our country. But we cannot serve a country that lets us starve. We cannot love a king who seems deaf to our cries. His face grows troubled. He asks questions about harvests, merchants, the assembly. For a moment I almost believe he cares, but then I remember the gold, the silk, the jeweled hands that guide us out. Arrangements will be made, he says. The suffering of my people grieves me deeply. We are led out past courtiers who hold handkerchiefs to their noses as if poverty itself might touch them. The crowd presses close, eager for news. We repeat his words, but I see doubt in their faces. We've heard promises before. The rain falls harder, but we do not leave. We've come too far to be dismissed with royal politeness. Something has changed. We are no longer just hungry women. We are citizens. We have looked our king in the eye. The revolution, I think, is not something waiting on the horizon. It is already here, in the rain, in our silence, in the refusal to accept the unacceptable. The night passes slowly in the courtyard of Versailles. We've made shelters from our shawls and cloaks, huddling together for warmth as the rain continues to fall. Some women have returned to Paris to tend to their children, but thousands of us remain, determined to see our demands met with action, not just words. I doze fitfully against the cold stone, waking every hour to whispers, the shifting of tired bodies. Near dawn, there's a commotion near the steps. Word spreads quickly. The king has agreed to return to Paris, to leave Versailles, to live among his people. Is it true? Catherine whispers, bouncing her baby in the cold air. Will he really come back to the city? There's hope in her voice, but also caution, the kind born of too many disappointments. The sun rises pale and watery, casting long shadows across the marble. Versailles is no longer untouched. The courtyard is muddy, the order of royalty disrupted. We've brought the outside world into this world of mirrors, and it will never be the same. Around noon, the royal carriages appear, first the courtiers and servants loading furniture with tight faces, then the golden coach, the royal family. I catch a glimpse of the Queen, Marie Antoinette herself. She's smaller than I expected, younger. Her hair catches the sunlight like spun gold. For a moment our eyes meet. Not contempt, not pride, but fear. She's afraid of us, afraid of what we represent. We are the future, pressing against the windows of the past. The crowd around the carriages swells, women wave branches, sing songs of celebration. The baker, the baker's wife, and the little baker boy. We walk alongside the coaches. A living escort, a citizen's guard. The mood is festive, even joyful, but underneath something deeper hums. We've done something unprecedented, and we know it. My grandmother would never believe this, says Marie-Claire, a loaf of bread stuck defiantly on her pike. One of the loaves promised by the ministers, proof that words became action. Common women telling the king what to do and seeing him obey. The march back to Paris takes the whole day, but it feels different than yesterday's desperate journey. We return not in hunger, but in hope. We carry not just bread, but belief. Belief that we have power, that our voices can shake kingdoms. As we reach the city gates, crowds greet us. Church bells ring. Flowers fall from windows. Children run and laugh alongside the carriages. It feels like a dream. But when the excitement fades, I ask myself, what now? The promises must be kept. The grain must arrive. The change must reach our streets. I walk through familiar roads. My bakery waits, still empty. But tomorrow, they say, the ovens will burn again. And I believe them. Because I've learned something. When the powerful ignore the powerless, it's up to ordinary citizens to become extraordinary. That's when bakers' widows become revolutionaries. That's when a march for bread becomes a march toward freedom. I unlock my shop, breathe in the scent of flour and memory. The shelves are still empty, but no longer hopeless. They hold the promise of tomorrow's bread, and all the morrows after that. The rain has stopped. Stars blink above a different France than the one I woke up in. A France where the people remembered their power, where women remembered their courage. Tomorrow I will bake, but tonight I am more than a baker. I am a citizen of the revolution, and I can feel the future stirring in my bones like rising dough. The march is over, pas de deux, but the journey has just begun, and I, Madeleine Rousseau, will walk every step of it with my head held high. We proved today that the hunger for justice can be even more powerful than the hunger for bread.
You've been listening to The Sleeping Archive. Sleep well. History will wait.